Well, let's get started. So it's, I have 6:01.
Okay, and we can just have Anne do her comments when she arrives. Or,
Okay,
you know, we pass her on the agenda.
okay. You did say she's coming in person, right, Robin?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So let me pull up the agenda. Sorry. I want to apologize in advance. This is the first time I've had COVID. I have COVID right now, so I'm sequestered in my my parents' house, and so I'm really feeling really good, except when I speak, I cough a lot. So just apologies for that in advance. All right, so minutes. Oh, citizens' comments, actually.
Okay, I wasn't given any citizen comments by email or phone or anything like that, and our guest does not have any comments.
Oh, okay. All right. All right, so next item on the agenda, consideration of the September minutes. So does anyone have any changes, updates, corrections, things to add? If not, can we move to consider those?
I move to approve the meeting minutes from September.
Thank you, Margaret. And thank you, Adam. Thank you, Robin, as usual, for getting them together for us.
Sure.
On to the next item, administrative report. So I had just
Catherine, sorry, you need to call for a vote.
on the minutes.
Yes.
All right, all in favor?
Thank you.
Anybody opposed? Okay,
Thank you.
sure. Hi, Pam. All right, so administrative reports. I just had a couple things to mention for mine. I want to talk about the Residence Academy. I know that's later on in the agenda. I had something to talk about in the new business section. I'll hold that. The only things I'll mention here for the administrative section is two things that the board was called upon to do since our last time together. Since I last spoke to you, I just thought I'd give an update on those two things. So the first one was, for those that aren't aware, there was a police forum, and as a board, we were asked to participate. We were permitted to send one member to ask a question. And given his involvement on the DEI subcommittees, we asked, Margaret and I chatted, and we asked Terry to handle that for us. And he did that, and which was great. So he represented us, did a great job, asked a great question. We're really happy to have him do that for us. The other thing I wanted to mention was we were also asked, I think this came through you, Laura, thank you for reminding me to get someone. We were asked to participate in the municipality's comprehensive plan. And it sounds to me as if it's a consultative type of thing, someone to run some ideas by. And Margaret and I chatted about that, and we asked Leah to represent us. So if you have a minute, Leah, I don't know if you had a chance to get any feedback on that process. How's that going?
Yes. So I went to the meeting, I think a couple weeks ago. It was just like an initial kind of like meet and greet with the two people from the consulting, I guess, firm. And it's going to be 3 meetings over the year that they kind of work. And what they kind of told us was it's like an intentional blueprint of what happens next. Kind of like what they think we should do for Mount Lebanon for like the next 10 years. I guess they've been doing this for a while. So we kind of looked at what the last one was 10 years ago. So I think they said November and December is kind of like the test phase. But I mean, a lot of you guys have seen the Send Lebo like surveys, the emails, and even I guess around just out and about in the community around Mount Lebanon. They said that they went to like one of the Mount Lebanon high school football games and kind of asked people. And it wasn't, I thought this was interesting. It was asking people like what they wanted to see in Mount Lebanon, not even just people who live in Mount Lebanon, but even people who live in Upper St. Clair, but traveled, through Mount Lebanon. I thought that was kind of interesting. So just just a quick recap, a couple of ideas that people are looking at on that interactive map is like a dog park in Mount Lebanon, maybe a spray park. And I mean, like, I guess we could all go on and look at that interactive map and see kind
Thank
of
you
what.
thanks for representing us on that.
Yeah, it was wonderful. Thank you.
All right, those are the only updates I had. Did Ann join us yet, Robin?
She's right here.
Oh, great.
Huh.
Hi, Ann.
Hi, so I think I'll just introduce myself and tell you a little bit about me because I don't have much to report. We're in the middle of budget season, and so that's a pretty intensive season. 3-hour meetings, 4 of them I think there are, and anybody is invited to come. But anyway, my name is Ann Swager Wilson. I have lived in Mount Lebanon. Everybody ready? 43 years. I'm really old. I've been around. I have lived kind of all over Mount Lebanon too, Altadena Drive, Crystal Drive, Anawanda. Right now I live on Connecting, so I've also migrated around to different neighborhoods. I have 3 children. All of them are grown and out of the house, and I have 2 grandchildren who live in Mount Lebanon and go to Markham School. I spent most of my career in the design world. I was the executive director of the American Institute of Architects in Pittsburgh. So spent a tremendous amount of time with architects, with other designers, and all design types over the years, which means that I did a lot of advocacy work for architects and their concerns, advocated on the state level, the local level, and the federal level. I also, we had a magazine at the time, so I did a lot of writing, and we put out a lot of things about what architects do. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else I ought to cover about who I am. That's it, pretty much it. Yeah. I'd love to know who you guys are. We could go around and introduce ourselves so I can put names with faces.
I'm Karina
Sure.
McCover. I'm a high school student at Mount Lebanon.
Oh,
I'm a
great.
senior and I'm a junior board member. There's one other junior board member, but he's not
Oh,
present.
great,
I did it last year as well.
cool. Do you have plans for next year after you graduate?
I do, like, I already got into my colleges, so my major bounce.
Wow. Boy, I don't think I ever knew what I wanted to be. I mean, sometimes I wake up now at my age and go, what am I going to be when I grow up? It's kind of scary. How about you?
Hi, I'm Adam Flango. I am one of the members of the CRB. I was previously on the DEI subcommittee
Yeah.
and so I joined just this year the CRB full stop. And been Mount Lebanon for 3 years-ish, but I'm from Pittsburgh. And
Sure.
yeah.
Cool. How about all of you?
Let's go. I'll just pick a name, Marisa. I'll just go in the order I see on my screen.
Hi, I'm Marisa, CRB member. I guess I'm in my 3rd year now. Worked on the DEI stuff as well with the CRB in particular. And in my day job, I work as a director of development for a small nonprofit here in Pittsburgh, Strong Women, Strong Girls. And I've been in Mount Lebanon, I guess like 5 or 6 years now. And I have a daughter in the high school, and I have a new baby. That
there we go.
is, yeah,
Yeah.
2 months
Good.
old now.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you.
Got your hands full.
Yeah, no, it's real fun.
Noah, I see your name next on my screen.
Great. Hello, I'm Noah Evans. I'm a CRB member. I was previously on one of the DEI ad hoc committees as well, and I've lived in Mount Lebanon for almost 6 years. Professionally, I serve as the rector of St. Paul's Episcopal Church on Washington Road as well. And I have 2 kids who are 15 and 13 at the high school and at Mellon Middle School.
Thanks,
Great.
Noah. Margaret?
Hi, I'm Margaret Izzo. I've been on the CRB for about 2.5 years. I helped chair one of the DEI ad hoc committees. I also work with the citizens mediations, which really is just talking to neighbors who have a dispute and trying to help them, form an agreement or at least more amicable with each other. I've helped out with writing some articles for Mount Lebanon Magazine. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, I'm an attorney. I do primarily pro bono work, so I represent low-income people in terms of landlord-tenant cases, immigration cases, contract disputes, life insurance claims, things like that. So it's nice to meet you. Thank you.
Nice to meet you too.
Margaret. Leah, I see your name next.
Hi, my name is Leah. I have lived in Mount Lebanon. It's hard to remember. The years seem to go quickly. I think about 8 years or so. I am actually from Topeka, Kansas, which is pretty far away. And I professionally am a nurse. I work at a specialty pharmacy. I have 3 children, 3 boys, 13, 12, and 7, Jefferson Middle and Lincoln.
Thanks. And then Stephanie, I see you.
Hi, I'm Stephanie. I've lived in Mount Lebanon for about 18 years. I'm originally from Virginia. This is my first term on the CRB. I also was on the DEI ad hoc committee. So I have 3 kids. I love hearing Marisa's story because I have a senior, sophomore, and a kindergartner. So yeah, a newborn is much different, but and professionally, I'm a research project manager in the School of Medicine at Pitt.
Great.
Thank you. And then I'm Kathy Shokin. I'm on my final term here on the CRB board. This is my second and final term. I'll be finished up in March. I have been here in Mount Lebanon about 15 years. I'm married. I have 2 kids. My daughter is last year middle school, anxious to get to the high school, and my son is in 1st grade. So not quite as big a split as Marisa, but I agree with you, Stephanie. It's a lot of fun. They keep me on my toes. And then professionally, I work in IT. I was directing some developers working in a company in the North Hills. So nice to meet you.
Nice to meet all of you. I have a big age range with my children. My oldest is 43. My middle one is turning 40 soon, and I have a 26-year-old. So I did that,
Nice.
really big split. Really fun.
Yeah. And is there anything you wanted to share with us from the commission work? I know you mentioned the budget. Is there anything else, or should we move on?
Well, I'm gonna let Laura report on the Winterfest. Is that what we're calling it? Winterfest? Yes. Market. Yeah, Winter Market, I'm sorry. But I'll let us move on because I don't have a whole lot yet, but I really would like to hear all about you guys and what you're doing. So I know, what parts of the commission stuff you might really be interested in. I mean, there's a lot,
Okay,
and some of it isn't as interesting as others probably. Right?
great. All right, so Laura, it's up to you. It's your turn.
So holiday season events coming up. The first one is Beverly Bright Night. That's December 1st. From 7 to 8:30. They expanded it a little bit this year to make it longer, so people would have more time. All the typical fun things: Santa, tree lighting, shopping hours, all sorts of good stuff. And then they kind of supersized light up night. They moved it to December 10th, and it will be Saturday. They wanted to have a longer time than you can get if you do it at night, and they wanted all the businesses to be able to participate. So doing it longer and moving it made more sense. So that's called the Uptown Winter Market and holiday celebrations. Makers,
I don't know about anybody else, but it's really breaking up. Is that just me?
No, I think
Okay.
it's the, yeah.
Okay. You were really choppy, Laura. We were having a hard time hearing you. Well, now we can't hear you at all.
So hang on one second.
Oh, now I can hear you perfectly.
Well, maybe I should just carry this around. Can you hear me now? How is it now?
Great.
That was weird. Okay. Easy enough. Yeah, it doesn't matter with it breaking up though.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So on the police chief front, I don't know if you saw the notification, the commission and a municipal manager extended an invitation for employment to the #1 candidate. It was a clear choice across the board for this candidate, and he declined because of obligations that he had that he could fulfill the role. So they went back out and opened the job again to a national search. Those apps are due on Friday. And will be a report to the commission on Saturday, and we'll take it from there. So it's been a little bit accelerated in that last time. They had a long rolling time for applications to come in, but it's a little bit more accelerated. Holidays are coming up and they want to see where they are with that. So that status. On this Friday at 4 o'clock, we are having the Veterans Day celebration. We have it every year, of course, and I can't remember the name of the storms that will move out or something. Whatever the storm is, on Friday.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're all choppy again, unless it's just me. Okay,
Around like a baton or something. Can you hear me now?
yes.
The Veterans Day ceremony is being moved inside at the ice rink, the lobby of the ice rink. So it's somewhat adjacent to the Veterans Memorial where it normally would have been. It's just going to rain and it's going to be torrential. So we just didn't feel like it was fair to leave people out in the rain, especially since we do get some elderly folks for this ceremony. So that is Friday at 4 o'clock. Noah Evans has graciously agreed to be our clergy there. He will be doing the invocation and the benediction. So thank you very much. It's always a challenge when we do these things to try to get a very inclusive clergy member. Because again, they have their specific things that they're used to saying, and we try to say we want to make sure that everybody feels. So I knew Noah would be able to do that, especially with his work with this committee. So thank you very much. And then the only other thing I wanted to bring up was that the commission last night discussed the board realignment that has come up several times and kind of set a timeline for it. So just to refresh your memory, and for those who weren't here last month, we have some boards that we're required to have by code, such as the codes review board, the zoning hearing board, and the planning board. So that type of board is not changing at all. But what is changing are the number of pure advisory boards that we had. There were 11 of them with, I think it was 75 members on them. And it became somewhat unmanageable, both for the commission liaison. So every board has a commission liaison and there are 5 commissioners. So you do the math on that with 11 boards, and with staff time, and with the fact that a lot of boards have purposes that intersect, right? So it makes sense, for example, for sustainability and for the local business district and historic preservation to be on the same, to work toward the same thing, to be on the same boards. I will tell you that the plan for, they're all 5 committees that they are looking to put together are going to be new, in that none of them are going to be the same thing that they are. But I will tell you that the Community Relations Board will be the most like it is now in terms of mission. So we would be changing the name and the purpose to Community Engagement. But again, the work that you do, it will still include mediation, it will still include education, it will still include DEI, and other things that the group may bring before the work. And again, the work that each committee is going to do will be set by the commission. They will say, this is what the types of projects and things that we're looking for the board to do. Again, Residence Academy, a huge success, Community Service Award, huge success. So I don't see a lot of change in what I'm hearing the commission talk about when they talk about it. The one thing that may be a little different is they're looking to standardize the board so they all operate the same way. So for example, there would be 9 members on all of the boards.
There would just be rules in the way that they operate. For example, you would have a new chair and a new vice chair every year, and it would cycle through that way to give everybody an opportunity to lead. Other little operational things that right now are different in the way some of them work. So nothing that I think would interfere with the work that you're doing, nothing that I think would hamper any of the things that you've been trying to do over the last couple of years. It just will be a little bit more standardized. So, and then also, in having fewer groups, your staff liaison will have more time for you and more, ability to help you than we have. So,
Laura, what's the timing on that, did you say? I'm
yeah,
sorry.
that's what I was getting to next. So the way Ian McMeans is a master of math, and he came up with a flow chart that that says that this can all be done in 2024. So what's going to happen in March of this year is the commission is going to fill all of the open seats with one-year terms. And that will allow all of the people who are ready to cycle off to cycle off. And then there will be people who will have more time left, I guess. So more time left on term number 1 or term number 2. And those folks could all apply. And the intention is for the people who still have time left to be able to apply for these jobs. It's not guaranteed. The commission, again, has to go through all the resumes. So if you are on a board now and let's use the Historic Preservation Board, for example. Historic Preservation Board moving to this new board, that's not to say that all of the people who have time left on their term would automatically get appointed, but that is the intention. So the commission will set up the way that they're going to screen. Again, will be the same way with a letter of interest and a resume, and they will decide whether they're going to do interviews or whether they're just going to look at the applications and do it from there. So those appointments, again, will just be for the open seats. So nothing new. Whatever would be open will be open in March. It will just be 1 year, and then those new boards will be seated in 2024. And it requires a lot of ordinance work because some of the boards have duties that are codified. So for example, Historic Preservation Board, now I keep going back to that, but I'm the liaison, so I'm familiar with it. They have to look at certain types of plans to get their input on things. So those ordinances will have to be rewritten with the new board name. It may change nothing more than the name, but the way the procedure will go. So that's that. Did I confuse anybody with that? Okay.
I think the only thing will be I don't really when my term's up in the 3 years, I guess that's what I'm confused about is the terms, how those would work. And you don't need to answer that because it'll be individual, for each individual person, but maybe as we get closer to the end of that term in March, kind of revisit who needs to make sure they're off and know they're off and that kind of thing.
Exactly. Okay.
Anything else, Laura?
No.
All right, Robin, your report.
Hi, everyone. Mine's going to be brief. We have 2 big events coming up at the library next week. Tuesday, November 15th is the library's 90th anniversary, the actual day of our 90th anniversary. We've kind of been celebrating all year, but we have moved our library board of trustees meeting to 6 p.m. so that the board members can attend a public event we have at 7 p.m., which is the History of Mount Lebanon Public Library of Judy Sutton. And we're also going to have special things going on in the library that day. We're going to have a prize drawing for anyone who visits the library that day can enter into a special prize drawing. And then we'll also have cookies and things like that. So it'll be a nice day. And then on November 19th, that's the Saturday, we have our Yola Book of Flood holiday market returning. And we're doing it really big this year because it's part of our 90th anniversary celebration. So we're going to have live music, we're going to have children's events, local artists, many of whom were at the artist market. And the Friends of the Library books, they'll have their special holiday book sale. So we're going to have a lot going on that day as well. And if you can stop by, it's going to be a lot of fun. And then the last thing I have is that starting on Monday, the 21st, the contractors will be arriving at the library to install our solar panels. So that's been a long-awaited project. We're the first municipal building to get solar panels on our roof, and we're very excited about it. Once the project is complete, which should be at the beginning of next year, we will have a leaderboard in the library that gives all of the stats about the solar project, like how much energy it's, I don't know all the words, but
That's great.
all of the details about the solar consumption and use and collection and all that kind of thing will be available on this board. So it's going to be an educational project. It's going to be exciting for everybody, and we're thrilled that it's happening.
Well, that's awesome. All right, thank you, Robin. And our junior board member, we'd love to hear from you.
Oh, sure. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I just want to talk a little bit about some of like the threats that have been made to the school and how I think that they're affecting the community and the school. So we've had 2 thus far this year, not including what happened today, made by students. There was one in the school newspaper, and I just think that with it's causing some obviously uncomfortable feelings from the community and the school. I think part of that reason is the communication is not there from the school. They kind of set their expectations for what we can do as students to keep ourselves safe, but never really talk about their plan of action for what they're going to do to keep us safe. So I think there's been a lot more fear with the student body. And I was thinking for my plan, I might go to talk to the school board about this, or try to get some of the opinions of other students and bring this to the school board's attention, because I think it's important that all of our students feel very safe, especially after last year when we had a threat and all the students just kind of left.
Yeah, so I think that sounds really important. I think that you find a way to either figure out what that communication should be or create some communication line. So yes, you're getting answers, or at least know where to go to get the answers to your questions.
Right.
Thank you for bringing it up.
And I just want to make sure that the students have a voice there and can communicate, because it's very scary to communicate with like the administration. So I think it's important that I can provide that voice so we can, because I know that a lot of the students feel this way and feel kind of, they should never feel unsafe in school. And I think sometimes some of them do.
Gotcha. Thanks for bringing it up. Okay. Anything else? Okay. All right. So we're going to move on to continuing business. So our first topic here is our diversity, equity, and inclusion initiative work. I'm anxious to hear about this. As you know, I wasn't here last meeting. Sorry for missing it. Thank you for discussing it then. But who's got the update for us today on our subgroup and where we stand with the prioritization and next steps? Is that Leah or? Oh, great. Perfect, Adam. Thank you, Adam.
Okay, I'll take the first step. So basically we have, can you guys hear me? Cool.
Yep.
So basically we had last meeting, we had identified our 4 main priority items that we are going to develop recommendations to send to the commission, and that those are still in progress. We did not get as much done as we had hoped in the last bit of time. So we are still in the process of adapting. Essentially what we're doing is adapting the recommendations that were originally sent in from the DEI committee that were sent, and now we're taking those recommendations and adapting them to what Commissioner Flynn discussed in our last meeting would be essentially a more actionable types of recommendations. So that's what we're in the process of doing. And I think there were some lines crossed of communication as to who was doing what in between last meeting and today. So we're going to clear that up and make sure that we're all kind of on the same page. But understandably, there were, babies born in the meantime, and there's all sorts of life things happening. But that's where we stand with in regards to the prioritization. I don't know if Leah or anybody else had anything else you wanted to add.
No, that was great. Thank you.
Adam, I had a couple questions. And again, because I know I wasn't here last meeting, so the four prioritized things that bubble to the top that you are
Yeah, right,
adopting.
they're in the minutes from last meeting.
Yes.
So, but just a reference there, the climate survey was the top item. These are, I believe these are in ranked order of basically of what we are, but they're all kind of receiving the same kind of lit. The survey from was the first one. The DEI training for municipal boards was the other one, which seems like it'll be kind of a little bit different with the shifting of the boards, perhaps. But the events calendar, and the policeman of the police department image and that and basically the police question was the other one.
Great. So my question is, and I understand our subgroup here is going to get together and sort of, it sounds like you got some additional direction from Commissioner Flynn and you'll pull that information together. Is it clear to you as a group, once you've done that, what to do with that information? You don't need to wait until our next meeting, right? Is this going directly to the commissioners with the updated action
Yes.
items? Is that the plan?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe the plan is as soon as we have the memo ready with the four different components all signed off on by each person within the subgroup has either one or two people are on each priority item. So we'll have that. So those people are responsible for their recommendations, and we will be. So yeah, and then once we have the memo ready, we will submit it and not necessarily wait until the next meeting.
Okay, and so you know the mechanism, that sounds great. You know, it's a memo. That's great. Okay, excellent. Anything else on that topic from anyone else? Any other questions or thoughts on that topic? Okay,
The only other thing that I think I'll add is that I think because the difference, I think, between the recommendations that we submitted from as part of the DEI committee and these recommendations are that I think these recommendations are going to be a bit pared down and a bit kind of clearer and understanding the scope that's available to us. I think in general, some of the recommendations that justifiably, so I think we're kind of was the ideal recommendation, and now we're shifting a little bit to what is more of the practical, what we can actually accomplish kind of recommendation. So that's will be the slight shift from, I think, how they were presented originally and how we are going to be presenting them in this upcoming.
that makes sense. I know that a few of those, and I'm not sure if the DEI training may have been one, but I think when we received that list from the commissioners, it was clear that some work had already started. So I'm assuming if any of these four that you've mentioned have work already started, that will also be included in the memo, sort of like current state. Is that your plan?
Yeah, I think things like the survey will be thinking about how we can collaborate with some of the Ascend Levo efforts and that sort of stuff, so that we're not creating something out of whole cloth, that we're kind of using existing things like that. So yes, then we will be definitely taking that into consideration.
Okay, good, great. All right. So next topic, bless you, Marisa. Next topic is the magazine column. Margaret, can we look to you for that?
Yes. Yeah. So basically, we haven't really done any new brainstorming in terms of the CRB column. And I wanted to mention, Laura, I think the magazine has just done, a great job in terms of moving forward, and some of the articles that you've done, and many of them are off our suggested list, and showing more diversity in terms of representation from the community. So I think we're really making some strides forward based on the recommendations that the Group 1 ad hoc committee gave to the commissioners. So I guess at this point, probably the committee needs to maybe put our heads together what else we can do. B column. Laura, did you have any potential suggestions?
I didn't. I brought it with me. We have the feature story on the Ukrainian contacts. So I had that. I can't email it because we don't release anything before it's published, but people who are here can read it. See it. You can look at it, we can. But I will, it's been a little crazy with the police chief search and everything out, and you know, the minute I'm ahead, then we have a gather done. So I will put my head together and think of some ideas for you. But this Ukrainian story is going in December. It's already been sent to printer, so so there's that. So you're kind of you know, mentioned there. And then the municipal feature for December is the DEI. So in full, the resolution.
Wonderful.
The full page in the magazine, and then there's 4 pages, I think, explaining how we got to that point. You know, the steps that were taken, the steps that the CRB is looking at now, and the steps that the DEI committee took in the past. So I'm not saying those 2 things replace your column, but just so you know, there is content in December. So if you
Yeah.
wanted to think of something for January, February is a combined issue. So if the holidays were too crazy for you, we could shoot for the March issue. And I would just need that by January 15th. So that might be.
Okay, all right, well, I'll send it out an email to the group also in case anybody has, you know, any thoughts too, so, okay.
Just, yeah.
Is there anything more on that topic? I don't know if I heard someone in the room with a question.
Yes, me.
Oh, great.
So one of the things I did when I started as a commissioner maybe 2 weeks ago was to go around and interview the department heads and staff leads at the municipality just to get an idea of what they did, to be able to put a name of the face, to let them know who I was, you know, those kinds of things. But I met with both of the deputy police chiefs, and I found out some things I didn't know about that you guys might be informative to you as well, and maybe would lead to some type of article. One was they were calling them care kits. They have put 6 care kits in police cars, individual police cars. And these are for people that have problems with, you know, stimulus and things like that. So I'm thinking probably autistic population, sensory issues, autistic population, other types of populations like that. And I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know very much about it because, you know, I couldn't take but so much of their time. It's not really fair. And so they brushed across it, but it went right in my head as something that I thought was really worthy and something the community might like to find out about. The other thing is, and I think this is a good one, this came up when I was asking them about what we were doing with citizens in our community that had mental illness issues. We have someone in our neighborhood who has been making threats to neighbors and doing some criminal mischief, which is essentially vandalism, but fairly serious in our neighborhood, and has scared some people. And I asked them, you know, what do you do in this situation? And they readily admitted that they don't feel prepared at all to deal with that kind of situation. They have to because they are, you know, the emergency call. But they're working on a solution for this. I put solution only in quotes because it's not totally formulated, but they're talking about right now, they have put a grant application into RK Mellon to fund 24-hour, 7-day-a-week social worker that would be deployed to a situation like this with the Medical Rescue Team South. The police car would go as well because, you know, in some cases, obviously there can be physical harm, but the first person up would be the social worker and the medical. So that is a grant application that's gone in. I don't know how likely we are to get it. My experience with RK Mellon is typically they fund more distressed communities, but, you know, maybe they will fund this, who knows? But if they don't, they're also going back to the drawing board to try to figure out how they can regionalize this even more. In other words, Medical Rescue Team South works with more than just Mount Lebanon. Is there a way to do this with all the other communities as well? So anyways, I think those are both positive and maybe future fodder for articles because I don't think many people know about them.
The care kit story is scheduled for January.
Oh, good.
So yes, we have that. In fact, we would have run it sooner, but we have a story going in December. Our police department just for the first time is accredited by the Pennsylvania Chief of Police Association. So there'll be a story about what that accreditation means. It's very good for the community in that it means that the police have policies, A, and B, that they are required to prove that they adhere to the policies. So all of that stuff is kept on record. It is a lot of work, but they felt it was worth it for accountability and transparency of their operations. So anyway, that's in December. So that's why the care kit thing is waiting till January, just for spacing.
All right, thank you, Anne. Those are good suggestions. Anything else on that topic, Margaret?
No, I don't.
Okay. Next topic is also back to Margaret. Citizens mediations, anything to mention there?
Yeah, I guess since we met in September, I've probably had about 5 different people contact me regarding mediations. I mean, there's some that happened previously that come back up. So typically it's a matter of talking to both sides and, you know, trying to find a middle ground. So I think it's helpful, at least diffuses the tension if we don't have an ultimate solution. And a lot of it's just educating citizens about these are the municipal regulations. And although maybe you don't like aspects of your neighbor's home, there's absolutely nothing that they're doing that's in violation of Mount Lebanon regulations. So that, you know, takes things down a bit. You know, occasionally I've entered into written agreements and sometimes there's been perceived violations of those agreements. So we'll go back through the language to help remind people of what they have agreed to do. And typically what they're agreeing to do are things that are just in line with the Mount Lebanon regulations, but it just sometimes helps to have that memorialized in writing. So that's it. So it's definitely helpful to have these additional recommendations coming in, you know, as people contact, you know, Public Works or other municipal employees that often comes through those channels.
Okay, well, thank you for handling that. It sounds like, is the volume still okay for you alone to do it, or?
Oh yeah, it doesn't really take much time at all. It's pretty simple. Yeah.
Okay,
But if somebody wants to do this, they're more than welcome to help out. You just have to do a training of a mediation training, which takes about 7 or 8 hours online.
okay. Thank you, Margaret. Can I suggest if anyone is interested in getting involved to let you know? Is that right, Margaret?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. Next topic on our agenda under continuing business is Residence Academy. I have an update I'll give, and then Laura, if you have things you want to add too. Stephanie, and you're here, and Pam had agreed to help out this year, get involved with some of the administration, learn the back end of how we put this together. As you know, this will be the last year I'm here to do the upfront, just, you know, getting our speakers online. So where things stand, we have reached out to all of our speakers. We've put together an initial draft of the dates and times and who's covering what. And this is, of all the pieces, this is the one that's just the most time consuming. And it was actually, I should cross my fingers, it actually went very well this year. But we had a few people that needed to switch things around. People had to move their dates around. As of this morning, I think it was the last one I got, the schedule is locked down, Laura, so we're ahead of last year. I'm excited, but so I will clean up all my notes and get that to you. You'll have that over the next couple of weeks, if not sooner. But it looks good. We didn't have any dates we couldn't fill. A little bit of squeezing to do, some puts and takes on different days, but Laura's very crafty and she seems to find everything we need to fill in the gap. So I think we're in good shape there. Stephanie and Pam and I, we met a couple times, once bunch through email, but then once in person to talk about who's going to go to which day. So we'll go through the schedule. I don't think we nailed them all down yet, right, Stephanie? But we plan to sort of split them up and have at least one of us at each meeting. Yeah, what would you like to add?
Oh, no, I was going to, yeah, I think we are covered for all of them, at least to have one of us there. So.
Yeah, and I'll just remind everyone, if you haven't been before, it's our municipal leaders are amazing and the content they cover is really great. And it's, I've gone several years in a row and I'm always learning something new. So if you have the time, it's great to come as a member of the board. You can come to any of the sessions. We'll have a name tag made up for you. And you can join, whether it's me or Stephanie or Pam in each session. We get there a little bit early, put out the sign-in sheets, say hello to everybody when they arrive. handle any handouts, things like that, direct any questions, take them down and get some answers for folks. But once it gets started, it's really up to our municipal leaders to cover their content each week. We do a little introduction and that's it. Then the last session is a few more speakers and then some nice certificates of completion get handed out from our elected officials on the last at the last meeting. So Laurie, are there things you want to add about that for this year?
Yeah, so the first thing we did is we went back to, just to refresh your memory, we had to cancel the 2022 because we had a spike in COVID and we were having trouble getting people to commit to speaking. So the first thing we did was go back to that cohort and give them first choice. We heard back, I believe, from 16 people so far. They'll still get first choice if they catch up with us before we're full. And then we updated the website. So the application is updated on the website, and there will be there was a full page in the November magazine where people could learn about it and fill the information out there. I don't have anything in the December magazine because I think we'll be full at that point, and there's other ways that we can promote it at that point through social media and flyers and posters and things like that, should we need it. But I think we're gonna fill up. So when we do, we'll have a wait list for 2024, which is crazy to think about that. Two things I just wanted to get you to think about is, one, the CRB has always been the group that has done the evaluation of the program. Whether you want to hand out evaluations at each session and collect them at the end when people are fresh, or whether you want to do it at the end because that's easier to administer, and then how you want to collect that data, what you want to ask them. I mean, what data is important to you to evaluate. I mean, obviously comfort of location is one, interest of the speaker, but it's your program, so it's really up to you. So that's one thing. And two thing, we will need, as it gets a little bit closer and we have a full database thing, we will need somebody to approach the elected officials just to let them have the invitation for the ability to come to the final night, say a couple words of thank you and pass out the certificate. So, and I'll have all the names contact because we'll have a new state rep next year. So that will be
Great.
good.
Okay, great. Yeah, when Stephanie and Pam and I met, we did talk about the evaluation, and I think we aligned on trying to be as flexible as possible. So we'll have, maybe we can give you the evaluation form ahead of time, and we can maybe get one in each binder, or we can just bring them each time to class and also have extras at the end of class, just in case anyone forgets. I know the first year, maybe the first 2 years we did it, some people filled it out as they went and kept it in their binder and just gave it to us at the end of all of them. Other people filled them all out at the end. It's a bit of a mismatch. So we figured we'd just be flexible and provide that either way. And then thanks for the reminder about the elected officials. One of us will be sure to reach out and get them set up for creating those. And okay, any questions on the Residence Academy? All right, so that brings us to new business. I have a topic, but I'll pause here. Does anyone have things they would like to add to tonight's conversation?
I just wanted to ask, Laura, when should we put on the agenda to start talking about the Citizen Service Awards?
Well, I actually had something to bring up real quickly about that. It's the Citizen Service Award will be going in the December magazine, just a short paragraph. It was a very tight magazine, so we didn't have an opportunity to use a full page. January, February issue will have a full page for the nominations. There is no volunteer appreciation dinner in 2023. That will be in 2024. So you're not as hamstrung with getting those in and picking that person as you are when we have a ceremony that year. So I basically have asked for people to put in those nominations by February 10th or the 9th, whatever that Friday is. And then the way I handle that is forward them all to you, and then you work out how you want to select that person. So yeah, so once you get down to the nitty gritty of it, whenever you want to start putting on the agenda, it's fine. Well, there really won't be much to report until it gets time to evaluate.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody have a topic? I'm going to just throw mine out there and then we can add, we have a few minutes, but just as a reminder, we had talked, Margaret and I had gotten together when we were thinking about, to your question earlier, Marisa, people's terms coming in and ending and who's rolling off. I roll off in March. And just as a reminder, as the chair, we're going to need to select another chair. Margaret, you're still here after March. and you're our co-chair. So we had a quick turn of change of hands last time. So Margaret and I were just trying to think ahead, so we have a little bit more, all of you have a little bit more time to plan for how this happens. And then I know, Laura, you actually mentioned a lot of changes coming, so maybe some of this may have to wait. But as a reminder, I'm done in March. So what we had put together for the succession planning was, it might make sense in this meeting now in November, just to maybe talk amongst ourselves openly, or if people want to, I don't know how we want to go about it, but to see who's interested in stepping up for the chair and co-chair positions. The last time we switched, the outgoing chair came to the meeting and we voted for the new chair in the meeting, and then that was their last meeting. Margaret and I were thinking it might make sense to vote for the new chair before March, just so we have a chance to do some handing off. So this is November, and that gives us December, January, February, just 3 more meetings in which to select the new chair or have people step forward if they're interested, and then take a vote. I think it might be nice. I'm
Sorry, Catherine, I just wanted to tell you, according to your bylaws, the annual election of officers shall be held in conjunction with the annual organizational meeting. So I think for most boards, that's the March meeting.
Yeah, only because you give your new members the chance to vote.
Oh,
So it's the April meeting.
so none of that matters. We don't, there's no chance to plan ahead of time. I mean, I just want to, maybe this is my opinion.
According to the bylaws, the organizational meeting is the April meeting. And that's when you're supposed to elect the new officers.
Okay.
I don't know that we've always been real strict about that in the past, but.
Well, I won't be in the April meeting. My last meeting will be March, and it's fine. I'm not, whatever needs to happen is fine. My only suggestion is, I know as someone that was taking the chair role, that having the vote in one meeting and then showing up to the next meeting and being the chair was extremely quick. And there wasn't a lot of time for handing off. If that's the way it needs to happen, I'm not trying to rock the boat, but it was just a suggestion that was fairly abrupt. So I'll leave it to all of you. I won't be here for April, but I'm happy to lead through March, and then you'll have to pick someone, I guess, when you start your April meeting. I'm not sure how that will work.
Yeah, and I think that, Catherine's a great point. So even though, we may have these bylaws that are set in stone and, it could be amended or anything, but still just express interest to Catherine or myself, because I think I may no longer be able to be a co-chair just because I split my time in Chicago, because I've been helping out with my dad who has dementia. So, since I'm just, unfortunately, I tend not to be in Mount Lebanon whenever we have our meetings, and I'm more than happy to continue to do the mediation and the neighbor disputes. I actually enjoy doing that. It comes easily to me. But in terms of actually running the organization, I just don't think it's fair to have somebody who just isn't there in person as much as he or she should be. So I think that both of you should think about the fact that both positions as co-chairs, if you decide to have co-chairs, maybe you'll just decide to have one chair. That's another decision to make. But at least one or both would be open.
Again, according to the bylaws, the officers of the board shall consist of a chairperson and a vice chairperson. So.
Okay, great.
So let me make sure I get it, because I don't want to continue to bring it up if it's not relevant. So that we have to have a chair and a co-chair. My last meeting will be March, and you cannot elect the new co-chair or co-chair until April. Is that right?
It is correct, but the bylaws may be amended by a majority vote of the board. So you are able to change it, I guess, if you want. It would only be changed for the 1 year though, because in 2024, all of the bylaws are going to be standardized. Essentially, whoever is elected next year, it will just be for that 1 year term, because the CRB will then morph into the community engagement board.
Right.
And if it makes you feel any better, the way it usually works with the other boards is when you're selecting your vice chair, that is kind of the mentorship year. And that person usually, again, it's by agreement of the members of the board, but they usually agree that that person is training to become the chair. So it isn't abrupt. So then the next year they rise, then you bring in a new vice chair who has it in that person's head that they would be the chair the following year. So.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that didn't work out for us. the person we had as co-chair. I don't remember if they left on their own or whatever, but so yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm happy to continue to do this through March. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware that, you know, come April, there'll be a vote.
And I'm happy to mentor people, help people who want to be, you know, co-chair, vice chair, because I'd still be on the board. You know, and it's pretty straightforward, you know, but I can go through Robert's Rules of Order with you and talk about how things work. And,
So I guess based on what Robin said, maybe this is just, maybe I'm on a limb here. Does anyone feel like you would like to make some sort of change before the April meeting? If so, it sounds like if there's more than a quorum, I suppose, that we could look to change that and make that change. If not, then just leave things as they are, and you can all vote in April on who will have the new leadership roles. So I'll leave it up to all of you.
I think because of the way that things are going to be changing after a year, it might not make sense to make any changes to the bylaws now and fill the space with somebody who's interested. I don't know, Laura, I just because it's only going to be a year and then all of those are going to be the same across the boards, it might make sense to just keep it as is right now. And then of course, Margaret being still here can kind of help and mentor the new chair.
All right.
Just throwing that out there. Anyone can disagree. It just
Well, I
because
was
it's all
wondering-
changing.
I was wondering if maybe, do you think, I don't know who would do this, but if maybe we could get a list of all the members and when they, you know, like when they leave, just because it wouldn't make sense if you only, you know, if you're leaving at a
Yeah,
certain
we
time.
actually have that, and
I
I
have that.
loaded it up as to the SharePoint directory that Robin
Okay.
gave me.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
I just made a new version for Anne with all the updated information, so I can actually post that if it's not already in there. I can't remember what I put in the SharePoint already.
I know I put that in the SharePoint place. Thank you,
Yeah.
Robin.
Catherine is all of the rest of you are in your first term. Livia Macedo is actually doing a partial term.
I can't hear
That
Robin.
muted. Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so the terms ending next year are Catherine, who is rolling off, Marisa, who can renew, Margaret, who can renew, and Livia, who is doing a partial term and can start a new term.
Okay, great.
Is on until at least 2024.
All right. There's no other comments. That brings us to the end of our
Well,
call.
I'll just have one, I just, in Margaret and Catherine, but if one were interested in the chair or co-chair positions, if any of us either in this meeting or not present, it'd still be okay as far as the transition goes, just to have conversations about what the actual transition would be ahead of that meeting. That seems like the most, to your point, Marisa, about not necessarily having to change the bylaws, but I think we should encourage whoever is interested in that to have those conversations and stuff, to do an informal, if you were to be chair, what would that require kind of conversations with the two of you?
We don't have a nominations committee requirement in the bylaws, but you may want to create a nominations committee, Catherine, to get like a couple of people just to find out who's interested in that sort of thing, get a slate. Do you want me to put it on the next meeting?
Sure. Yeah, that sounds great. I mean, I think what you said, Adam, I think that's exactly right. It just becomes a matter of everybody knowing who's interested in helping out, who's interested in which role, and then chatting with your peers about, you know, what you would bring to the role or what you would like to do. And the vote was very simple. Robin helped us keep it confidential, and we had 2 people that were interested, and we all voted, and then it was a quick tally. Didn't take long at all. We're a bigger board now, but not that much bigger, so it wouldn't take long. But yeah, I think that's the first step, is just knowing who's interested, right? Everybody's got a day job, everybody's got things to do and other commitments. So yeah, I think that's the first step, is knowing who's interested. Thank you, Robin, for putting that on the agenda.
Sure.
All right. Unless there are no other topics, I think we're at the end of our agenda.
Catherine, we did have one other guest join the meeting, so did you have anything you wanted to? Any comments or anything? Okay, good. All right. Well,
Oh, thank
Okay, I
you,
think
Robin.
we're
I
all
didn't
set
see
here.
them back there. Thank you. All right, then. We can get a movement to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
I
Thank you,
second.
Margaret, and thank you, Leah. All right. I'll see you next month then.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.